38-14 is the final. The East squad wins today, Sam, but that's not the biggest story. The story is the Michigan signees that participated today in the All-American Bowl. We got to first focus on Cornelius Johnson. He had 2 touchdown grabs after a slow first half where he got a pass deflected away. He came back with two back-to-back passes.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns and 3 targets. That's a pretty good percentage on the day for the young man. He showed this week that he has speed. I think that was maybe the question about him early in his recruitment. Could he really, against elite defensive backs, could he get on top of them? He showed all week that he could do that. Granted, his touchdown receptions here weren't deep throws, but you saw during the week in practice that he could get deep with the best of them. He's another long receiver and another outside guy. It showed you a little wiggle, showed you some flexibility that would allow him to line up inside as well. So another versatile receiver piece for Michigan, and a guy that isn't going to be pressured to produce right away. I mean, you got a wide receiver stable where he can come along slowly and be able to be ready to fill in the gaps. Maybe not necessarily this year, but probably starting next year.
All right, we got to stay on the West squad. Excuse me, go to the East squad. Defensive lineman Chris Hinton, a lot of scuttlebutt like, hey, Chris is maybe going to play offensive line when he goes to Michigan. He came this week to prove doubters wrong, that he could play on the line. They had him line that defensive tackle, and he had some good moves today. He had the pressure on the quarterback, covered a fumble, and just had an overall nice week.
Yeah, I think to me the biggest revelation, and maybe even to him, he said he always had defensive tackle in his toolkit. But he's a kid that had been adamant about being a defensive end all along. We've been talking to him for years now, right? He's going to be a defensive end. He's going to be a defensive end. But Michigan's need is at defensive tackle, and it's I don't think it's any coincidence that that's where he played in this game, and that's where he excelled in this game. And I think in our conversation and talking about Chris Hinton, you made I thought a very, very astute observation. At defensive end, he could be a good player, but at defensive tackle, he could be an elite guy. He could be a difference maker at defensive tackle with his off snap quickness. You saw that when he got off snap quick, recovered the fumble. We saw that a few times during the week, during the game. The next step for him is getting a little bigger, a little stronger, maybe adding 10, 15 pounds of muscle. He won't lose any quickness if he does that. He'll hold up better at the point, but he's a guy that they're going to need to be ready to play right away. And whereas Mozzie is a guy that's going to be an anchor in the middle, maybe a nose, a guy that can clog things up, this is a guy that's going to be able to get upfield. He can provide that interior rush that Michigan got accustomed to. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Mo Hurst, but bring some of that to the equation.
Well, the one thing I liked on him hitting all week is that while he's going to have to get in better shape in the long run, and he will once he gets in the program, he has a high motor. So when he's on the field, he's not giving up on the play. You've seen him multiple times through it in practice, in this game, where he's running down the field. He's not giving up on the play, and that's something that you got to look.
And that's infectious. I mean, when you have a guy that is 100 miles an hour every time he's on the field, every other guy on the line feels like he has to play that way, especially when it's one of your leaders. And I think as we've gotten to know Chris Hinton, as you've gotten to see his recruiting prowess, his commitment and dedication to that, he is an undisputed leader in this class. I think that's going to translate to the defensive line and to the defense as a whole. I think you'll see, and he has a high football IQ, very, very smart guy that learns the game, that knows the game. It's not just the athlete out there as well. I think that's always also all going to translate to him being a leader on the team as well as an impact player.